I'm Eman Martin-Vignerte. I studied engineering in Germany, and my path really started from there. And maybe before I come to the engineering, it's probably interesting for the audience to know that I'm a Qatari. I enjoyed living. There's a very traditional environment, but really encouraging from the family to be different and to accept also the fact that you, in a male-dominated environment, could actually also flourish if you have mentors within the family. So from there, really, I had the possibility to study in Germany engineering, and my path started from there. With actually being apprentice at the medical equipment engineering for little born infant, with creating incubators for them to grow. So I did the software and hardware, and then from there I had the possibility to start at Bosch with the software and hardware engineering, common rail systems. At that time, diesel engines, and really then went to different jobs within Bosch, because that is actually what the company really promote, to make you more aware about their products. So I changed the engineering to the strategic job for working for Hyundai customer in Korea, and then afterwards I changed to healthcare. I was responsible for business development, and that took me to be in the UK for a while, working with hospitals and telehealth, helping chronically ill patients to have the connections to the carriers in the hospitals, and then from there then have the possibility to be responsible for political affairs, government relations at Bosch. And here I am now with you talking about, I don't know, maybe politics, stems, whatever we like.
Yeah, well, gosh, you have done so much. And it's incredible to think that really it all started with an education in engineering. So that, I think, is for me the most heartwarming, because engineering doesn't really have the reputation it deserves for some reason. I don't know how it is in Qatar, but certainly in the UK, engineering is seen as kind of the grease monkey industry. And what I know of engineers, and you are proof of that, is that engineers are brilliant problem solvers, whichever way you want to approach it, whether that's a very hands-on way, practical way, or academic way. Engineers just want to address challenges, and it sounds like the challenges you have addressed is very much in well-being and health and the medical fields. Why did you decide to combine your engineering training with health?
So engineering, generally speaking, really is in every part of your life. It's in your food, is in your mobile, is in health and well-being, in music, filming, creative industry. Everywhere engineering is there, because you need technology to actually access different ways of either services like fintech or solutions to make your life easier. Hence, generally speaking, and back to your point as well about engineering, how it's perceived in the UK or in Germany or in Qatar, totally different. So yeah. From Qatar side of things is probably what I usually will be facing is not the being an engineer itself, but actually being female in engineering, because of the tradition perceives women in a different roles. In Germany is totally different. The engineers, it's really a protected title, is very well respected. It's also very well paid. And when I came to the UK, I was really surprised that some of the people, mixed engineering with a plumber. You say engineers for everything in the UK, and I think this is probably put off lots of young people to be engineers. I chosen really the healthcare outside when I came to the UK. I mean, I'm agnostic engineer. I work really in every solutions direction. I was in the energy and automotive and healthcare and and digitalization, signal economy. So really agnostic. It's engineering about solving problems, and healthcare, of course. If you see healthcare, it's a very traditional emotional market. Really needs a lot of efficiency to be done there. And I think when the stage I came to the UK with the healthcare and telehealth, monitoring patients from home, it wasn't that well perceived, or not maybe recognized as a solution to keep, we call them the frequent flyers, the people who actually they go to hospitals a lot, but actually what they are failing is not having enough social care. And to then combine the social care with actually the secondary hospital, you can bridge that with telehealth, with actually monitoring people from home, giving them the feeling that they're not alone, and as well as have an access to them in any time. But after COVID, this is all gone away because people need to find solution, and really the acceptance for having telehealth and, like they call Big Brother watching you, just eased in our life, and the technology now is well accepted. So it's really interesting how some, for example, elements of devastating and crisis could actually unleash and flourish certain technologies moving forward.
Oh my gosh, Eman, I'm so excited to talk to you. Like, I'm literally tingling with the idea that you cross so many areas. Like, the idea that you've got experience in Germany, you've got experience in the UK, and you're from Qatar is just such a unique blend of insights into different cultures, because I've always loved the respect that Germany gives to engineers. I mean, they are usually CEOs of companies, they are leaders, they do have a very prestigious title of engineer. And then in the UK, which is really where most of my experience is, it's seen extremely differently. And then this idea of you having been raised, I'm assuming, in Qatar is just such a rich experience of what it's like to be a woman in a culture that I am assuming, and I may be completely wrong, but I'm assuming women are quite is suppressed too hard a word to use? And so I really want to sort of like delve into all of this triangle of experience that you have, and I'm sure it's actually more than a triangle, it's probably a hexagon, or of experiences, because it's such a unique mix. So I guess let's talk about your childhood first, because I do have a connection with Qatar, actually, because a family member of mine lives there. I've been there, and it's an interesting place because when I pack my suitcase to go there, I have to make sure that all of my dresses are long. I'm not showing my shoulders and my arms, and at certain times in the year, I have to make sure I'm not eating during certain periods of the day. There's a very, very strong culture there. What's it been like doing something like engineering, which is typically male dominated wherever you are in the world, and living in a culture like that?
It's a really good question. So I was fortunate that my family was actually very liberal from the beginning. I think 20 years ago, probably women were anyway, I wouldn't say suppressed, but maybe perceived differently from the roles of society. than it is now. I think, generations, my mother probably, the priority was, and it should be now and somehow, taking care of the children and being a good mother and a good role model in the society. And I think this role emerged to change in the last actually 10 years. I can really see the younger generation now. They're very well educated. The engineering as a field becoming not unusual for women to actually perceive and do, and actually to manage their careers as well. So there is a pivot and shift in Qatar. And I think I don't know if it's the name says or ring a bell, Sheikh Moza, she's the mother of the current Prince Tamim. She really made a huge change within how women are perceived in Qatar, and she also unleashed and escalated the culture to allow women to work and to be equal to man. Of course, we could do better, but definitely there is a huge amount of change and transformation happen in the last 10 years, and I think the elements of it as well seen in the World Cup, that actually they're very generous, friendly culture. Okay, we have of course some restriction in culturally acceptance, maybe openly about the LGBT community, which I support, and I'm definitely, lots of my friends are from the LGBT community. But I think this is something we need to work on it. But generally speaking, is really a huge transformation for women. I perceive is really, really very positive there. And secondly is what we need also to think about it. And it's not only Qatar. If I go, for example, to Turkey and other countries in Asia, I was in India. I worked in India last year for 5 months. And I was really encouraged to see that 50% of the middle management were women. In IT, AI, digitalization, engineering. So my really, I would like advice for the women in Europe. There is no problem for you to be in STEMs. Look to other countries who maybe we perceive as not our first world countries, but actually they are, and somehow they divert it, they encourage the women to be more educated. They recognize how important it is to have a balanced, fair community, not because women want for the sake of working, because they have a part to play in the environment. They raising children, and also they educate the children, and they are role models. And therefore it's not a luxury to leave half of the talent pool staying at home because we think that this is the right way moving forward. So I think we can only learn from the Asian culture that actually, yes, maybe we were suppressed in the past, but we're going out now, definitely. And we could be role models globally to other girls in Europe or beyond.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that you mentioned certain countries as being perceived as not supportive of women or less supportive of women, because yesterday I came across an article by The Economist that was talking about the worst countries for women to thrive. And actually the countries that you've mentioned were on the worst list. And so actually it's really about who's created the statistics, because you'll look at one list and it says that the country's terrible for women, and then you'll look at another list or talk to people about their own experiences, and they think they've had they've had many opportunities. And I've been running this podcast for about 5 years, and I've had women from countries that are generally perceived to suppress women. And actually what I found is that the women are even more confident because they come from a history or a tradition that did typically overprotect women or keep them hidden. Yeah. And as a result, it was like they put even more effort to come out and be educated and be leaders, and the strength of character that they developed because they faced so much oppression. It was more than some women that have been raised in a Western culture where we're perceived to be more equal. So, ultimately, I think what I'm saying is it really does boil down to the individual. And really the benefit for the audience listening to this conversation is, what can I learn from this woman in STEM to empower myself? Because we can all be victims of our culture and our traditions, but actually, this is why I'm so excited to talk to you, is because I know that you probably have all these gems of wisdom as a result of all of your different exposures to different cultures, and you can pass on your kind of what you've learned from all these contrasting experiences. So I think what's been the strongest message is actually you've had really fantastic support from your family. Yes. And so it doesn't really matter what tradition you grow up in. I think support from your family is a key stepping stone. Would you agree? Or
absolutely. I mean, it's one of the definitely stones. You need to be also very confident. The problem is with all women and girls, when and that, Shani, when they raised us in schools to listen, to be very good and to do our homework and to be a good girl and to yeah, exactly, take care of ourselves and always polite and all of this. And I think this is unfortunately is ingrained in us, and then we become not confident when we go out to the world, and then when we are in the working environment, because I have to be brave and I have to be quiet and I have to be I need harmony, I cannot go in conflict and all of this. And I think girls, that will really start in schools, that you start to prove yourself. I was in a girls' school, so it's actually different dynamic there. And then in the university you have different challenges, and some girls get put off from STEMs because they will see majority are boys. The education is unfortunately is not done to be sometimes interesting and engaging, which is definitely changing. But I think also the way our mental environment, when you see even the TVs, like American Idols and all of that, I have to look in a certain way, I have to have operation because my face needs to be thinner and all of this. So I think the media, unfortunately, they gave you the profile how you should look like, and this is an issue of confidence. And it comes to STEMs, that you don't find nice sexy engineers going out there in the media and TV and actually presenting. And I think this is a part of the education what we have as girls, but the part of how we perceived in the society, and a part of it as well how we deal with our, I would say, no confidence. I'm myself, I can say that in the beginning I used to doubt myself 1,000 times in comparison to my colleague. If you give me a task, maybe I could do 80%, and I would say, no, I can't do it because I can only do 80%. Because my male colleagues, he can maybe do 50%, and he will say, I can do it, there's no problem, etc. So there's a huge amount, not only on STEMs, but it's the behavioral change we need to encourage these girls to do. And I think this starts from there. This was my first experience, is how could I actually change myself to be more confident, to shout out, to speak out, to not actually feel embarrassed that I have achievement. Because sometimes you say, oh my God, I cannot say that, then they will perceive me as ignorant, etc. No, you have to talk about it, shout about it. And another thing, Shani, what we kind of programmed to do, we need to work hard. No, you don't have to work hard. You have to work smart to then get the recognition from your colleagues to thrive and to have a career. And I think these things I need to really all the time for my mentees to say, really, boys and girls, be yourself. Discover what you are strong at. Nobody can dictate who you are. I'm chaotic and I'm not structured as an engineer. I come more in the creative side of it, but it's okay. Then I'm creative. I'm a part of the team. I can bring ideas. I could bring solutions, and others who are actually more strong in the structures, they can do it. So I don't have to be perfect. Nobody is perfect. And I think it starts really from there. And I really love your podcast, Shani, because I think you really convey these messages to these girls, but also to the boys as well. Don't be perfect. Be yourself, and you will thrive.
Ah, I love that. Literally goosebumps. It's so important for you to say what you're saying. And I'm so glad that there is a platform where you can say this, because I grew up, or I was developing my career at a time where there were so few women that actually the strategy was, all right, there are so few of us that we just have to be like men. That's the only way we're going to survive. Let's just be like men. And I just always felt so uncomfortable about that, because I, put engineering aside, I love being female. Everything about it, not just getting the chance to wear pretty clothes, makeup, do my hair, wear high heels, all of these things, but just, I think femininity is so powerful, and engineering would really benefit from femininity. And so when I was being advised, you just need to, be less emotional at work and, approach things like a man. So, when I say that I approach my work with emotion, I don't mean like I'm in the office crying because the project didn't work out. I mean that I'm driven by passion, like I care about the environment. I care about people finding an engineering solution useful, applicable, like all of these, like there's empathy and consideration that comes with femininity. And so it didn't sit well, this idea of trying to be more like men. And I hear that in what you're saying. And I love this message that you're giving, which is like, be yourself. And I also love the fact that you're acknowledging men being themselves, because I think this whole like masculine culture in engineering is not healthy for men either. So what would you say, because clearly you are a woman who is thriving in engineering, you're at Bosch, you're very senior there, like what would you say have been the key modus operandi, like what have been your key MOs for getting to where you are today in engineering?
First thing is being confident. That's the first one. You really need to be confident, even if sometimes your heart is shaking. I think always showing confident is good. And you need to find a soulmate. For my case is, I have really two dear colleagues here in the company. I, tell them everything and get their advice. Always check your, sanity, just for your sanity, advice from others who are actually can give you better view about that. It's really, really helped me a lot. Be confident is the first one. And secondly is, it's really good to have allies. We don't do it, we do it naturally as one. We're always in, network is actually, we see things differently, we are multitasking. What you said also, Shani, about emotion is actually very positive engineering, because you bring things in motion where men cannot do that. So I really saw that in lots of projects where women were in the project, they brought different aspects of it. Men didn't think about it at all. I'll bring an example later. So be confident, find ally, and speak out. And these three elements really will position you as a leader. And I think we always in somehow we take things for granted, but actually it is not. You have to, in some elements, to think smart about where you want to be. I accepted the fact, that there are lots of women in a certain level of leadership. They really don't want to grow more because they have different priorities. And I think it's really interesting to watch that with women, because they are not eager on, to lose everything only because of the leadership. They would like to change the world. They would like to make an impression. They would like to make things better, but it's not in all cost. And we have to accept that. That's why you don't see a lot of women maybe in CEO's position, not because they can't, but because they have different priorities. So we have to accept that. So you need really to draw in your mind where I want to be. And also you need from the beginning to really think, do I want children? Yeah. If you don't want children, it is okay. But plan everything so you don't regret afterwards. And believe me, careers with children doesn't mean it cannot work out. It can work out. You just have to plan it, and really to find allies from within the company is really important to then allow you actually to see things in a different way, and also to connect. Because the other thing, what I wanted to say as well, lots of jobs actually happen to be where the cafe machine is, because you will hear, someone is leaving, or you can apply for this job, or you could do this job. So networking near the coffee machines is always positive, and I would recommend.
Yeah, I mean, you've raised so many things. Speaking out is really, it's a big obstacle, I find, for people, women maybe more so, because I come across a lot of brilliant women who are constantly apologizing, and that's because they set themselves such high standards. And you talked about the 80% versus a man who might be doing only capable of 50%, but they are so confident. So it's all tied in with confidence, but it's this idea of we are our own critic, and often we don't allow ourselves to speak out. Or if I just keep it personal, I don't allow myself to speak out because I'm thinking, oh gosh, maybe I shouldn't say that. I don't want to upset that person. Maybe it's not really my role to say that. Who do I think I am? And there's like this whole commentary going on in my head because I want to be the good girl. I don't want to upset anyone at the expense of my own kind of presence. Like, I don't want to be big, because the more I speak out for what I believe in, the more criticism I invite. So maybe it's a case of, accepting that there will always be critics, and just being yourself anyway. And that's why I love the fact that you've talked about allies. And I'm curious to know, because we always talk about allies, role models, mentors, but they don't necessarily have to be like us. They don't have to be women who have trailblazed. They can be men too. So I'm wondering, are your allies fitting the demographic? Who are? I don't want to know who your allies are, because that's a very private question. But do they fit the role model mentor that we are all meant to be seeking as women in STEM?
I have different allies in my careers. You will laugh, majority are male, actually. So because they see things differently, and I have to say, it's really sometimes it's inspiring to hear their views, which I find it sometimes is very calculated and cold. But then afterwards I reflect, he has a point. Yeah, I can see his point from that angle, without cutting emotions down. Okay, I take this point. So I think it's really a mixed bag. It's very mixed bag, and it's it could be also some allies, people. at all not in the working environment, by the way. I sometimes have role models from the cleaners in the office, seriously, because they face different things we don't face in the leadership. And really, you need to listen to anyone in the organization. Nobody can be titled with no value. Everyone is valuable in your life, and I'm really grateful for all of the people who I met. So different allies, different bags. And I think the allies also, interestingly as well, what I found out, it really changed depending in where you are now in your life. If I reflect back, some allies I had 20 years ago, I still respect, have contact with, but they don't fit anymore in my life where I am at the moment. So there are continuous allies, friends I will have forever because I love them and they are in my heart. But there are allies who actually contributed towards my career for a certain period of point, and then they're not there anymore. But this is also okay because I have others on the way, which I found, and I will be ally for others also on the way. They found me, and maybe they will lose me later because they need other allies. So it really depends on your life milestones where you are at the moment. But it's a journey, and we are social animals. We cannot live in our own. We always have to be in a community because whatever we're doing has to be socially in somehow contributing to the good for all.
I get such a strong sense that you know who you are as a person. Because when we talk about allies and we talk about the people who can influence us, all of these things are really, really important. But I think at the core of all of that is that you have a very strong sense of what you want for yourself. And I think that's more of a priority than kind of reaching out to others, even though that is also very important. I think it always comes back to the same fundamental core kind of truth, which is that really know like what you want, like tune into that inner compass. Because on the subject of motherhood and children, I personally have really battled with it because, yes, on a macroscopic scale, I would have loved to have been a mum. But on a micro scale, logistically, it just would not have been possible. And in some ways, I'm really glad I don't have the responsibility of being a mother. But there is an element of sadness that I'm not a mother. Like there's a lot of confusion for women, particularly at certain decades where time runs out and biological clock and all this stuff. When you talk about knowing what you want, how do you deal with maybe what you want changing?
It's really very interesting that we have same destiny in here because I don't have children as well, and I think it's probably we are we come from the same generation without mentioning our age, Shani, but I think we are. It's interesting because our generation, you had role models who actually wanted to have a career, wanted actually to push forward, wanted to break the glass ceiling, and when you see the next generation after, they are totally opposite than us. They want to have work-life balance, they want to have children, they want to have better sustainability lifestyle. So it's really important to reflect on these generation changes rather than before us, the baby boomers as well, my car, my house, my children. So I am from your generation, and I think what I don't regret, but I think I really, from the beginning, also because of my upbringing, I wanted to prove to myself and my family and my environment and culture, I can do it. I can thrive in a totally, foreign environment to me. It's not my country. I'm foreign in Europe. I speak several languages, but I have no mother tongue anymore. But I will thrive because that was my target. I'll thrive, I'll prove myself, I'll prove them all that they are wrong. I can be a leader in a country. It's not my country. That was what I wanted, and I achieved it. On this way going to the mountain up to the top, I neglected having children, and I absolutely agree with you, Shani. I didn't know when I should have children. In which point I felt 30, no, I don't want. I have lots of things I need to achieve. I need to, be internationally traveled and all of this. I don't want that. I don't want to be hanging with a man in a house for 20 years to pay off the house, and then afterwards my children will go to schools, and then I'm left back in my memories what I wanted to do. So I didn't want that. I want to break my mother path.
Yeah.
So therefore children weren't a part of my life. When I reflect back, there are some sadness that I didn't see the way of actually combining motherhood with my career. I couldn't see it.
Yeah.
But I always say to the girls I mentor, plan it from the beginning. If you really want to be a mother, there's always ways now in companies, like job sharing, you can work 2 days a week and the rest at home, hybrid working conditions and all of that. It's really now a lot motherhood friendly, I would say. Maybe it wasn't in our generation, Shani. So therefore so we pushed our way to the top like you, Shani. I think the next generation will do it totally differently than us. I think our only task now, from what I see, my role and your role as well, Shani, is really to break the glass ceiling and absolutely to create an environment that these girls coming after us don't have to then talk about, unconscious bias and all of this. That would be a history.
Yeah. I mean, gosh, I think, we're definitely from the same generation, because when I look at younger graduate engineers actually coming through, and a few people in my book I can't film with at the moment because they're on maternity leave. And I'm like, how are you thriving in engineering and having children and a company that is so supportive, and the fathers are getting paternity leave? I mean, things are so different today. And, I honestly find this a kind of confused battle of emotions and thoughts, because, on the one hand, I am so happy that things have changed. On the other hand, I have to be honest that I'm sad that I wasn't in that generation where it was completely natural to be able to have it all. Like my generation, and maybe the same as yours, had to make a choice, one or the other. But I must say that women like us are, they're not rare. I've had a lot of female leaders on this podcast who don't have children, who have translated their maternal instinct to helping other people, and I have stepchildren, and, I have this huge sense of wanting them to be the best they can be. And so I channel my maternal tendencies to them, and there are other ways to have that outlet through helping others. When you were talking about the incubator for premature babies, you are expressing that kind of maternal side of you in some ways, but I do feel that it can't be a coincidence that women who do end up taking very large responsibilities of leadership roles can't really do that as mothers necessarily. And yes, there'll be many people shouting examples of women who have many children and are leaders, but I just feel that we definitely grew up at a time where people now can't even understand what we came from, because things have changed so much. But especially coming from countries where women maybe took a more subordinate role, I actually think that I have, and probably you have, really been trailblazers, considering where we've come from.
Yes,
So,
sure. Yeah.
I mean, what, I think you've given the advice already. You said that you tell your mentees to really figure it out early on. And that does make me think, because, you know, there are a variety of technological kind of solutions, you know, egg freezing, and none of which I went for, because I don't know. It's always been just not something that I wanted to engage in. But now I tell younger women to just not compromise on who you want to be. And I think that has been your core message as well, right?
Absolutely, Shani, you're absolutely right. I studied all of this about motherhood, and you'd be stunned to know. I mean, I probably would just quickly say it from the engineering side. Women are at the highest point of motherhood from 15 years old to 23 years old. 100%. Then that will decrease to 50% when you hit the 25 to 30 years old. From 30, you'll be about 20% possibility to get children, 20 to 25%. By 35, you're already actually less than 20% to 15%. So you could imagine. And that was a lessons learned. I still remember it from a doctor, which actually I was looking into IVF and all of these solutions when I was 35. And then afterwards, with all of this, I decided myself it's too late now to do it, and I just run away from it, because it's not really a solution for me, maybe for others. But I think we need. That's why it's really early on. Is very important that you maybe discuss it with someone else and actually say, try to find out what is your priority. In my opinion, we shouldn't judge, because unfortunately there are lots of people judge us also, Shani. They said, oh my God, these are career-driven women, they are ruthless, etc. No, you don't know my history, and you don't know my story, and don't judge me. And I don't want to know if you judge me or not. I don't really care. So therefore, the elements of it at the end of the day is you need to be happy with yourself. You need to be content and also grateful. We need to be grateful always for whatever we have in our life, even some hardship. We have to be grateful for it. I always said, my parent died in a very early age, and I think this has also inspired me to just carry on. And I think even hardship sometimes really shape your careers and shape your characters as well to what we are now. So hardship, happiness, and whatever decision you have, don't look back. It is now a part of your life. It's a part of you, and just you need to move on. And whatever we're doing, we are actually soldiers in this society to then contribute that we all have a happy living. That is actually my mantra.
And I just feel very kind of drawn to you, because I resonate so deeply with what you're saying, because there's the role model who has ticked all the boxes, and it's like, wow, look at her, she's ticked all the boxes. And then there's role models who show their vulnerability and their wisdom through what they've learned and experienced. And those kind of women who say, you know what, I didn't do this, but I did that because of this following your true purpose in life, I think is more inspiring than anything. When I listen to you, I really hear a woman who wanted to make, or wants to make, a difference, by applying your talents, the gifts that you've been given in life, you want to make a difference for the better. That to me is most inspiring, not ticking boxes, you know. And the fact that you have the strength of character to say that publicly is even more inspiring. And I just think it's really important for women to support women, because, you know, unfortunately, we can get into ruts where we're in competition. And I don't think that's healthy. You know, I want this platform for women to express what they've learned, you know, their journeys and their kind of what drives them. And for us to identify with that, because I really identify with you. I really identify with this kind of need to prove to oneself that you can do this. I mean, it's just, you know, what more of a role model can you be than just to be yourself, you know? And I really see that in you. So it's just so powerful. In order to get back on the engineering track, because this is a podcast for women in STEM, where do you put your energies now? I know you're a Bosch. Where do you want the industry to go?
So I'm very fond with digitalization, AI, and quantum, and I think you really can make lots of changes there. Really, humanity changes in a positive way if you use the technology ethically, of course. And the means is, you know, I know that people are against stem cells, and you know, they think that probably religiously is not great. But I think this will give a chance to cancer patients actually to improve their conditions better than the current therapies what we have. So I would like, and my efforts is really going in empowering this digitalization transformation where we are at the moment for the human good, and how actually, for example, we could use quantum computing and quantum itself to then encourage better lifestyle. And I'll give you an example. So for example, quantum is really, it's the third dimensions of engineering. So you're not talking about 0, 1, so like a pioneer a change. We're talking about the third dimension. And this third dimension will allow you actually then to manage the brain waves in a different way. And we talk about, for example, dementia. Dementia is really now becoming a very standard, unfortunately, disease to have, sometimes even in early age. And there's no cure for it at the moment. But if you accelerate the quantum technology in a way, you could actually close the gaps in the brain waves to connect to actually your memory and to demolish dementia as a disease, just as an example. So my effort now really encourage more girls and boys to go into engineering, to STEMs, to create more role models, to actually be present, and also podcasts like you, Shani, you really a huge, you know, contributor towards the encouraging more STEMs and girls and boys to be in engineering. So thank you for that. Please continue your work. And the other areas is really in research and try to understand more how we could use these technologies and the whatever ahead of us in an ethic way to have a better life.
Well, Eman, honestly, it's been so fundamental that we have this chat, because what you represent is something so magnificent in the sense that, yes, we've spoken a lot about women's issues today, but one of the strongest themes that have comes out of our conversation is the fact that I think you really are fighting for equality. You want diversity, you want equality, you want inclusivity in technology and innovation and engineering. I can really hear that through everything you say. I I see you as pushing for a time where we're not talking about men, women, this kind of debate that has been going on for so long. I see you really fighting for progress and advancement wherever it comes from. And I think the key message that I hear from you today is that kind of evolution and advancement comes from people having a really strong sense of what they want to achieve, to do good. Let's not get caught up and distracted in the little, silly debates that are going on about you're better than this person, this culture, it's all about just progress. Whoever you are, it's about progress. So thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us today. And I'm so happy we've met. I've loved it.
So do I.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.